Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, do not say I didn't warn you.
More than 6,400 people dead, more than £59 million in damage caused by riots, 27 towns in chaos. What began as a desperate struggle for survival has become one of the most destabilising crises in modern British history. Hospitals overwhelmed, housing costs rising by 22% in affected areas, crime rates rising, council budgets collapsing, and a political system shaken to its foundations. This is more than just a story of migration, it is a national stress test. And Britain is suffering. If you were Prime Minister tonight, what would be the first decision you would make? Write it down below and see how you would lead. They leave in silence, slipping into the night with nothing but a plastic bag of clothes and a prayer. Across deserts, forests and razor wire borders, their journey becomes a slow erosion of humanity. Smugglers beat them, gangs rob them. Children disappear in the chaos, swallowed by a route that has no mercy. When they reached the English Channel, many of them had buried their friends. The sea was colder than they had expected, the boat smaller than they had expected. Yet they climbed aboard, 60 men in a dinghy that could hold only 10, because going back meant death, and going forward was the only hope left. In that stretch of black water, 6,412 lives have already vanished, leaving no graves, no markers, only the sound of waves closing over a dream. And still, every night, more boats push into the dark. For those who survive the crossing, Britain appears like a miracle. Streetlights glowing through the morning fog, rescue crews pulling them from the freezing water, but hope fades quickly when their feet touch dry land. What they enter is not safety. It is the system drowning long before they arrived. More than 50,000 asylum seekers are now being housed in makeshift hotels, gyms and converted barracks. Entire coastal towns are being overcrowded as new arrivals outnumber local residents. Council budgets are being squeezed by the cost of emergency shelter, transport and social care. And every day that passes costs the government £12 million. Money that can't be spent on schools, roads or the NHS. Hospitals feel the strain first, ambulance queues stretch across car parks. GP surgeries close their doors before noon. Doctors treat dehydration, hypothermia, untreated infections, illnesses born from months on the road. Behind every patient is a story of flight, fear or torture, and the NHS absorbs all of it. Silently. Schools struggle next. Classrooms built for 25 pupils now hold 40 teachers, already exhausted. Juggle translation apps while trying to keep lessons from collapsing into chaos. And still more people arrive, cold, hungry, hopeful, believing Britain can carry them. But the truth is harder. The system designed to help them is cracking. And every crack widens the tension that will soon spill onto the streets. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what comes next. The deeper truths start right after this. The pressure that built silently through hospitals, schools and housing finally erupts in the streets. What begins as small gatherings outside council buildings quickly grows into a nationwide fury in coastal towns, Folkestone, Dover, Margate. Crowds spill into the roads, waving signs, shouting over police lines, demanding answers the government cannot provide. Within a single fortnight, the UK records 27 major protests, 14 violent clashes and over 62 injuries, including 7 police officers hospitalised after being struck by bricks and bottles. Videos spread online at lightning speed. Each clip fuels the next confrontation. What was frustration becomes rage. Shops become collateral damage. More than 39 businesses are vandalised or looted in just 5 nights. Council vehicles burn. A local community centre, mistaken for a migrant shelter, is set on fire, causing £1.8 million in damage. In another town, a temporary housing facility is hit with fireworks and petrol bombs, forcing 118 asylum seekers to be evacuated under riot shields. Police units are deployed from London, Manchester and Birmingham, but even they struggle to contain the surge. Officers form human walls across high streets while protesters surge forward, chanting that their towns have been abandoned, that the system has collapsed, that no one in Westminster is listening. Counter-protesters arrive soon after, church volunteers, charity groups, local residents who refuse to see refugees blamed for a broken system. Their presence turns tense protest into open battles. Sirens echo across neighbourhoods that have been calm for decades. In these streets, the divide becomes unmistakable. One side driven by fear and exhaustion, the other by compassion and defiance. And in the middle, Britain's sense of order begins to fracture. A fracture that will haunt every decision the government makes next. As the riots spread from one coastline to the next, Westminster scrambles for control. Emergency meetings run past midnight, but every announcement arrives too late. Ministers promise new patrols, faster processing, tougher action against traffickers. Yet the images broadcast on national TV show a country slipping beyond their grasp. Local councils openly resist further placements, declaring they have no beds, no staff, no capacity. Police chiefs warn that continued unrest could stretch forces to breaking point. Even Border Force officers admit privately that the surge has outpaced every resource they have. The government deploys rapid response units, drafts temporary legislation, and negotiates new deals with France and Albania. But the crowd see none of this. All they see are burning bins, shuttered shops, and towns barricaded behind riot vans. In the eyes of the public, authority doesn't look decisive anymore. If this changed how you see the crisis, subscribe to follow the next chapters and tell me what stayed with you most. Yet even as anger shakes the country, another side of Britain rises quietly, one that does not make headlines. While protests rage outside town halls, church basements open their doors to families who have nowhere to sleep. RNLI crews launch into violent seas without hesitating, pulling strangers from the water as if they were their own. Doctors in overcrowded NHS wards stay long past their shifts, treating injuries from the riots alongside wounds carried from war-torn homelands. Teachers spend evenings translating homework for children who have never known a stable classroom. Volunteers bring coats, food, and a moment of dignity to those who have lost everything. These acts do not erase the chaos, but they reveal a truth easily forgotten. Behind the noise, Britain's compassion has not disappeared. It worked quietly, steadily defying the darkness that had engulfed the streets and reminding the country of the humanity it still carried. As compassion works quietly at the edges of the crisis, the government attempts to regain control at its core. New legislation is rushed through Parliament, faster asylum decisions, expanded detention capacity, harsher penalties for smugglers, patrol boats sweep the channel at dawn, surveillance drones circle the coastline, deals with France and Albania promise to intercept networks before they set sail, but every solution carries a shadow. Communities question whether these measures protect them or simply move the problem elsewhere. Advocacy groups warn that tougher policies risk pushing vulnerable families into even more dangerous routes. And on social media, conflicting narratives twist every policy into ammunition, fueling confusion, distrust, and political division. Britain stands between two forces, the urgent need for order and the moral duty to protect human life in that fragile space. When the smoke clears and the crowds disperse, Britain is left facing a question that no protest, no policy, and no headline can escape. What kind of nation will it become? The cracks are still there. Families without homes, hospitals overwhelmed, communities deeply divided. But on the faces of those who came here with only the hope of survival, they carry stories of loss that most will never know. In living rooms across the country, people argue about solutions, but beneath every argument lies the same fear, that the Britain they knew is slipping away. Yet there is another truth too, one often drowned out by noise. This country has rebuilt after wars, recessions and crises far greater than this. It has found unity before and it can find it again. The path forward isn't simple, but it begins with understanding that the future of Britain and the fate of those seeking refuge are now intertwined in the same fragile balance. In the end, this crisis is not just about borders, boats, or policies. It is about people. Both those who arrive seeking life and those already here fighting to protect their own Britain stands at a turning point, torn between fear and compassion, pressure and responsibility. But the path ahead will be shaped not by the loudest voices, but by the choices the nation makes now to rebuild trust, restore stability, and remember that humanity, however strained, must remain at the heart of every decision.